They look like your neighbors, your friends, even your family, but they're not. In 1978, Invasion of the Body Snatchers turned that simple idea into one of the creepiest, most paranoid horror films of all time. And behind the scenes, things got even stranger. Let's uncover 20 weird and disturbing facts about this cult classic. Fact 1. Pod screeches came from pigs. That haunting screech the pod people make wasn't science fiction at all. Sound designers recorded pigs squealing, then distorted the recordings until they sounded alien. The result is unsettling because it's grounded in something primal and real. Once you know it's pigs, the sound becomes even creepier. You're hearing something familiar, but twisted into nightmare fuel. It was a perfect blend of everyday horror and otherworldly terror. This technique gave the film a sonic identity unlike any other horror movie of the time. To this day, sound design students still study that shriek as a masterclass in creating fear from the ordinary. Fact 2. Jeff Goldblum's first big break. Before The Fly or Jurassic Park, Jeff Goldblum landed his first big role here as Jack Belisek, the sarcastic writer who suspects something strange is going on. His rapid, offbeat delivery made him stand out, hinting at the unique style that would later define his career. While he wasn't a star yet, critics noticed him, and fans looking back point to this role as the true beginning of the Jeff Goldblum experience. His improvisational choices and quirky cadence were so distinct that director Philip Kaufman encouraged him to lean into it. That decision helped carve out the screen persona Goldblum is now celebrated for. Fact 3. The mud bath scene was real. When pods begin to duplicate bodies in a mud bath spa, the actors' disgust wasn't faked. Those were real mud baths, thick with foul-smelling sulfur and slimy texture. Veronica Cartwright and Jeff Goldblum were genuinely gagging as they acted. That authenticity made the scene squirm-inducing for audiences. Watching them recoil from the goo made the horror even more visceral, because they weren't just acting, they were enduring. Kaufman believed real discomfort would make the scene unforgettable, and he was right. The mud bath sequence remains one of the film's most iconic and disturbing visuals. Fact 4. Cameos from the 1956 original. Kaufman honored the original by slipping in cameos. Kevin McCarthy, the star of the 1956 version, bursts into the street screaming, "They're here!" before being run down by a car. It's the same frantic warning from the first film, but ignored this time. Even original director Don Siegel appears as a taxi driver. These cameos connected the two films, making it feel as though the invasion never stopped. It just spread. It also served as a wink to older fans who knew the original storyline by heart. This subtle continuity made the remake feel less like a reboot and more like the next chapter of an ongoing nightmare. Fact 5. Handmade pods of goo and latex. The pods weren't CGI. They were crafted nightmares. Built from latex, gelatin, bean sprouts, and slime, they pulsed and oozed with revolting realism. Some even leaked foul-smelling fluids on set, forcing actors to react with genuine disgust. The tactile, organic quality made the horror stick. Even decades later, those pods still look grotesque, proving practical effects can be scarier than digital tricks. Their tangible presence gave the invasion a disgusting believability that CGI often lacks. For many, those pods are the true stars of the film, silent, slimy villains that still haunt imaginations. Fact 6. The human-faced dog. One of the film's most disturbing images is the dog with a human face. To pull it off, the crew sculpted a life cast of an actor's face and created a mask for a real dog to wear. The effect was so bizarre and unnatural that it instantly lodged in viewers' nightmares. No blood, no gore, just a surreal, uncanny image that still ranks as one of horror's weirdest visuals. That moment became a benchmark for practical horror effects in the late 70s. Even now, it's frequently cited on most terrifying movie moments lists. Fact 7. Donald Sutherland did his own stunts. In the climax, Sutherland's character smashes through a glass roof while destroying the pods. Instead of leaving it to a stuntman, he insisted on doing it himself. Safety glass was used, but he still walked away with cuts and bruises. His dedication gave the moment intensity that can't be faked. Watching him crash through for real makes the scene feel raw and dangerous, adding to the chaos of the finale. That commitment shows why the ending packs such an emotional punch. It wasn't just acting, it was fearless filmmaking in action. Fact 8. Real rats on set. Those rats scurrying through the city alleys, they weren't special effects. The crew used San Francisco's actual rat population. By filming real vermin running loose, Kaufman captured a layer of realism that audiences could feel. The rats weren't scripted, but they fit the theme perfectly. A city overrun by creatures you can't control. Their presence added an unplanned but chilling texture to the urban nightmare. Viewers could sense the unpredictability in those scenes, making the invasion feel even more unstoppable. Fact 9. Veronica Cartwright's screams were real. Veronica Cartwright's terrified screams are some of the film's most memorable moments. Director Philip Kaufman helped make them authentic by catching her off guard with scares. Sometimes she wasn't warned when a pod effect would trigger, so her blood-curdling reactions were genuine. That raw, panicked energy carried onto the screen, making her fear contagious. Cartwright later admitted that those scenes left her emotionally drained for days, but that sacrifice gave horror fans one of the most iconic screams in cinema history. Fact 10. Paranoia spread behind the scenes. The story is about trust breaking down, and that paranoia seeped into the set. Cast members started joking, nervously, about who might be a pod person among them. The constant immersion in suspicion created an edgy atmosphere that bled into their performances. They weren't just playing paranoia, they were living it, and that authenticity shows in every scene. For Kaufman, this tension was a gift, heightening the realism of his actors' fear. It blurred the line between performance and reality in a way few horror films achieve. Fact 11. Pod growth was stop-motion magic. The unsettling pod growth sequences were created with stop-motion and time-lapse effects. Crews combined sprouting plants, goo, and sculpted bodies to simulate alien duplication. It took hours of work to produce just seconds of footage, but the results were worth it. Even today, those eerie sequences look grotesque and convincing, holding up better than many computer-generated attempts decades later. Each frame was carefully crafted to give the impression of life forming from nothing, creating an almost organic sense of horror. This painstaking artistry is one reason the film's practical effects remain legendary in the genre. Fact 12. The ending shocked everyone. Donald Sutherland's final scream is one of the most iconic horror endings ever filmed. Viewers believed he was the survivor, the last human left. Instead, he points at Nancy and unleashes the pod shriek, revealing he's one of them. The audience sat stunned in silence, too shaken to clap. Many people walked out of theaters disturbed and unsettled, unable to shake the image from their minds. That bleak twist helped cement the movie as one of the darkest and boldest remakes in cinematic history. Fact 13. Critics were divided at first. Not everyone recognized its brilliance right away. Some critics hailed it as a masterpiece of paranoia, while others dismissed it as too bleak or slow. But time proved Kaufman right. Today, it's regarded as one of the greatest horror remakes ever, often mentioned alongside John Carpenter's The Thing as proof that remakes can surpass their originals. The shift in perception shows how the film's themes aged into cultural relevance. What some saw as overly grim in 1978 now feels chillingly prophetic. Fact 14. Nightmares for audiences. The movie didn't just scare audiences in theaters, it followed them home. Viewers reported weeks of paranoia and nightmares, dreaming of loved ones being replaced or waking to find pods by their beds. Some even avoided sleep out of fear. That lasting psychological impact is what makes Body Snatchers stand out. The concept of being overtaken while unconscious struck a primal nerve in viewers. It transformed a sci-fi premise into one of the most personal fears imaginable, losing your humanity without ever knowing it. Fact 15. A political mirror. The film never nails down one message, but it's dripping with allegory. Some saw it as anti-communist, others as a critique of consumer culture, and still others as a warning about authoritarianism after Watergate. The beauty of its ambiguity is that everyone saw their own fears reflected in it. That's why the movie remains relevant decades later. The paranoia it explores never really goes away. Its flexibility as a metaphor is part of its genius, allowing it to resonate in every new era of uncertainty. Even now, it feels like a mirror for modern distrust and social conformity. Fact 16. The Pod People Legacy. The 1978 version became the ultimate paranoia horror film. It inspired TV shows like The X-Files, influenced movies like The Thing, and even outshined later Body Snatchers remakes. But no one has topped Kaufman's version. To this day, when people think of Pod People, they think of Donald Sutherland's chilling final scream, a legacy of horror that still echoes today. That influence can be felt in everything from sci-fi thrillers to psychological horror. Few remakes achieve cultural immortality, but this one carved its place in history. Fact 17. It was a remake with teeth. The 1956 original was already a Cold War allegory about conformity and fear of communism. But by the late 70s, America had new scars: Vietnam, Watergate, and a rising distrust of authority. Director Philip Kaufman leaned into that cynicism and crafted a film that was darker, bleaker, and more unforgiving. Unlike the original, there's no hint of hope. Humanity doesn't fight back. The pods win. That unapologetically grim ending shocked audiences and cemented the remake as more than a retelling. It became the definitive version, reflecting an era where trust in institutions had completely eroded. Fact 18. San Francisco became a character. Shifting the setting from a small town to San Francisco wasn't just cosmetic. The city's fog, twisting streets, and crowded sidewalks turned it into an unsettling character of its own. Wide shots of crowds made you wonder, who's human, who's not? Even ordinary city life looked suspicious. San Francisco in the late 70s had a reputation for counterculture and unrest, so placing the invasion there gave the story weight. The city's personality made the paranoia feel larger, echoing the cultural turbulence of the decade. Fact 19. Donald Sutherland's hair had a life of its own. Continuity nightmares plagued the production, and the culprit was Donald Sutherland's hair. Some days the Bay Area humidity made it frizzy and wild, while on other days it was oddly flat. Shots don't always match, so eagle-eyed fans notice his curls changing from scene to scene. The cast even joked that his hair was its own pod person, always shifting form. It became a running gag during filming, with Kaufman joking that the hair deserved its own credit. Even now, fans online point out the hair continuity saga as one of the film's quirkiest details. Fact 20. Leonard Nimoy's role was a shock. Audiences trusted Leonard Nimoy. After all, he was Spock. So when he appeared as Dr. Kibner, a calm psychiatrist who dismissed people's fears, viewers assumed he was the voice of reason. But the twist? He's a pod person. The betrayal hit especially hard because of Nimoy's persona. His calm, logical delivery made the reveal chilling. That moment shattered audience expectations and helped make the film's theme of mistrust even more potent. And there you have it. 20 weird, disturbing, and fascinating facts about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. From pig squeals to human-faced dogs, this film proves that sometimes the scariest monsters look just like us. If you enjoyed this dive into sci-fi horror history, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and remember, trust no one.